this is My Baby Experts, and welcome. I am Sherry Creaso. I'm the host of the show, and tonight is all about you and your baby and everything that you need to know. That is the total focus of our show, and the reason why we come to you every single week to bring you the best information, the best experts, the best advice, the best products, everything that you could possibly have to make the best decisions possible for your baby, because what could be more important than your child, right? What could be more important? Tonight's show is going to be about another topic that's extremely important, if not as important, and that's safety. And safety for your child, safety for your baby, and there's so many different ways that when we talk about safety, how we can keep our children safe. So let me get to our special guest tonight, okay? Our special guest is Kay Green from My Precious Kid, and I know a lot of you know her because that's how you found me, through her website. Okay, she is a wife, she's a mother of 4 children, she is the grandmother of 4, she's a business owner, a business mentor, she's a potty training teacher, and a new mom mentor. She is also a safety expert. I mean, her website is all about providing safety for children. She's owned My Precious Kids for over 10 years, and that's she's in Oregon. She's based out of Oregon. It's a child safety and baby gear store. So she actually has a brick and mortar store, and she also has an online website, which is fantastic, where you can get all kinds of products having to do with health and child safety, and she's just a wealth of knowledge. And when I met Kay and I learned about her background, I said, you know, can you please be on the show, because we really need this information. And then once we said yes and we started putting it out there, the questions just started streaming in, and as usual, I have the best audience. They're the smartest, they know the most things, they ask the best questions, and so the questions are fantastic tonight, and we're going to be answering a lot of them. She also writes a lot of articles on child safety, parenting, building businesses, potty training, other unique subjects, and for the last 10 years she's been putting that up on her website, so you can go to mypreciouskid.com and get all that information, as well as all the articles, so you can read about a lot of really good information. And you could also join Kay on her Facebook fan page as well, as at My Precious Kid LLC. So, with no further ado, let me introduce Kay. Hi, Kay.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I'm so excited.
Awesome. Oh, Joe's got the applause going, because you know what? They're really applauding for you. Hi, Kay. Look, they're all saying hi, Kay. Yay!
Thank you so much.
Excellent. And we've got your picture up here. And tell us about who's in the picture with you. We've got 2 little babies there.
Yes, those are my twin grandsons.
Aww.
Micah is on the left, Mason is on the right. There'll be 2 in May. I think they were about 18 months when we had that photo taken.
Aww.
And so they're the middle 2 of my 4 grandchildren. I have a granddaughter on either side.
How fantastic to have the children and now to have the grandchildren. You are just such a blessed person to have all that.
I am blessed.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic. So fantastic. Well, we were really excited when we got to speak a couple weeks ago, and then to know that you were coming on the show. And also with so many of the new regulations and recommendations that are coming out, it's really confusing for a lot of parents, and there's so much concern, because when we're talking about safety, I mean, everybody wants to know the latest and make sure they're doing everything right.
Absolutely, and it's so confusing, but we were grateful that the new information has come out from a couple of sources that has really brought it down to an easier level to understand and really keep our kids safer. We've been teaching the extended rear facing for a couple of years in our store, so we're very excited to see it come down from the AAP as well. Yeah,
they actually put out a statement this week, right?
Yes.
From the American
I think it was actually last week, but yes, a week ago, put out a statement with new suggestions for car seats, and the biggest change is rear facing until age 2, or the weight limit of their car seat to rear facing, which most of them go somewhere between 30 and 45 pounds rear facing.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, I know that it's in this country, we've made this, I mean, I think it was back in 2002 that they came out with saying that, you know, as a minimum, that when they hit 20 pounds or 1 year, they can turn them around, and it became like this rite of passage. The minute they hit a year, we were turning them around forward facing, which really wasn't the best thing for them.
Legally you could do it, but statistics have showed us it really is not the safest option for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in other countries, I know this is not the case, correct?
Correct. In Sweden and the Netherlands, they keep them rear-facing till age 3 or 4 in the same kind of car seats that we have. And their statistics of children that have, one of them I saw was a 10-year length of time. There were only 5 deaths of all children that were rear-facing in car accidents. It was just so much safer. It's
completely amazing, especially when I'm reading here that that is still the leading cause of death in children 4 years and older. Is motor vehicle accidents. It's amazing that we have had, and that's just deaths, the injuries that occur from turning your child forward-facing. The comparison to the Netherlands is just unbelievable. It's about time that we finally made some changes.
I'm so glad that we're finally catching up, and hopefully the laws will catch up behind it. Right now it's the suggestion. We expect the law to catch up with it soon. We know that a lot of pediatricians haven't caught the new information, and so parents are still churning at a year. But it's so much safer, and I love it when I hear parents that have kept them rear-facing until either 2 or the weight level of their car seat.
Yeah.
It's just simply more safe for them.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I know we get a lot of questions that came in because people were concerned about the legroom of being able to keep them rear-facing.
Yes, and we hear that as a issue that parents are saying that, but from my parents that are actually rear-facing, they're finding that it's not an issue. As long as they're in a full convertible car seat, like our Radian 80 that I have in my car, or the Britax that you have, they both have lots of leg room. There is no statistics that I've been able to see that say that there are more broken bones because of rear-facing. Right. And even if that were the case, broken legs are easy to fix, broken necks are not.
Well, that's a great point, and somebody brought that up in one of the comments on our RSVP page. They were saying people are worried about their leg safety. What about their life? And I thought that was a perfect example of we need to worry more about their heads, their necks, their spines. Those are the things that are at risk when we turn our children forward facing.
Absolutely, because our kids, their body proportion, their head is larger compared to their body than an adult. And so their necks are small, and that forward momentum is just, they don't handle it well. As far as legroom, my 2 grandsons that you see pictured there are still rear-facing. They'll be 2 in May. Yeah. They can touch their toes to the back of the seat, but it doesn't bother them. They'll either sit with their feet touching, or they'll sit cross-legged, or they'll drop one leg over each side of the car seat onto the side, which of course their big sister doesn't love, because she's in the car seat in between them in her car. Yes. They've got 3 across. Yes. But there's really no complaint, and they travel really well in it. We've had no problems whatsoever because they don't know any different.
Well, I was just going to say that children are so adaptable. When they don't know anything different, they just go with it. They don't know any better, so it's actually much easier than to try to flip them back around if you've gone the other direction. But it's still a good idea. If you are a mom out there and you have a child that's 1-year-old and you already turned them around, you may want to reconsider and move them back into that rear-facing position. I have a study here that came out in 2007 from the Journal of Injury Prevention that showed that children under the age of 2 are 75% less likely to die or be severely injured in a crash if they're riding rear-facing. That's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. I had heard 5 times greater risk forward-facing than rear-facing.
Wow. I always say, Kay, and I teach when I'm in my class about car seats, when I teach my infant class, teaching them how to strap them in properly, make sure that they're using them right. Car seats are not for driving. Car seats are for crashing.
Correct. Absolutely.
And so we have to keep that in mind. A lot of people are so concerned about, them being more comfortable or this or that. That's not what this is about. We do these car seats because in case of a car accident, you're not going to be worrying about their comfort. You want to make sure that they're actually as protected as they can be.
Absolutely. And, I have older children as well. I think we talked about that. My oldest is 28. My youngest is 11.
Yes.
So there's been a big change in rules over the years as I've parented kids in a couple of different generations. And when my second child was a baby, a friend of mine, we met at the mall and had pictures done, and the next week she was holding her baby. Remember, there weren't car seat rules back then.
Yeah.
He was 6 weeks old, she was in a fender bender, and he was killed.
Oh, God.
And that was all it took for me to be really diligent about car seat safety and knowing what was the safest for my children.
Yeah, I remember being a child and just like rolling around in the back seat, you know.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, and you hear, and my mom used to say, I don't know what this is all about. When you were a child, we didn't have car seats. You just rolled back and forth. I'm like, and we never had a problem. I said, you know, Ma, someone had a problem. Thank God it wasn't you.
Yes. Thousands of children died like that. And yes.
That's true. That's true.
It is true. The one thing I encourage parents to know, though, is find out what the weight limit for rear-facing for your car seat is. It's just as dangerous to leave them rear-facing past the limit of your car seat as it is to turn them too soon.
That's a very good point.
And so if your car seat has a weight limit of 30 pounds rear-facing, then when they hit 30 pounds, you need to change it. I have, as I said, a Radian 80 is what's in my car for my granddaughter. It goes to 45 pounds rear-facing. Each seat has a different level. So look at the sticker on the side of your car seat and know what the height and the weight limit, both rear-facing and forward-facing, is for your seat.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good point, because it's not just unlimited time. It really needs to, when people ask, like, what's the weight limits on this stroller? What's the limits on this or that? I'm not as worried about when they're not following the actual guidelines when it comes to their car seats.
Right.
You know, the car seats, they really mean it, and that's because of the testing that they've done. So you really want to make sure that you're looking at it. I have 4 Frontiers in my car, and they all happen to be pink Frontiers.
Yes.
Four pink car seats, 2 in each car. That's a fantastic car seat as well, because my 9-year-old actually sits in it, and she uses the seat belt now, but it's like a booster, but it actually gives her the side head impact protection, which I like. We've used those little boosters at times on vacations, and just watching her head up against the glass, I can't even take it. So having some kind of a booster seat that actually protects their head for side impact is critical as well.
I agree, and let's touch on booster seats just a minute. The other change that came about is that you keep them in a 5-point harness as long as your seat will do that. I think all of the convertible seats now go to at least 40 pounds forward-facing in a 5-point harness. A lot of them, like Britax and Radian, go to 65 or 80 pounds.
Yes.
And so my car seat safety tech here is saying that the best practice is that they should not go into a booster seat until they are at least 4 and at least 40 pounds, because they tend to either unbuckle themselves and not stay in, or they tend to not sit in a correct position.
Yes.
And a 5-point harness is 5 times safer than the belt over the top. So keep them in the 5-point harness. Again, as long as your car seat 5-point harness will go.
Well, my friend
don't move them to a booster too quickly. And then when you move to booster, do it high back.
Yeah, I think my Frontier goes up to 80 pounds with a 5-point harness, and my 7-year-old is still in the 5-point, and she's small, but she still fits in the 5-point harness, and I feel so much more comfortable with her in that.
I agree. It's much safer.
It's really great, really great. Let's answer a couple questions regarding, we're going to go back and forth. We have a bunch of different topics, but I figured we have so many different questions that came up regarding the different aspects. Let's cover some Q&A from the audience as we're talking about the particular topics. This came from Tiffany in New Jersey, and Tiffany wanted to know, I turned my convertible car seat around and my 18-month-old seems to be squished with his knees up to his waist. Is this how it should be? Thanks. And so I think we kind of touched on that before. What are some tips that you can give Tiffany as far as what she can do with her child's legs?
And again, as we talked, I find that kids don't really mind it. With most convertible, their knees are going to be bent slightly when they're taller and they get to that 2 or 3 year level.
Yes.
But they aren't usually touching their chest. And most kids will sit with their legs crossed or they'll flip them over each side.
Yes.
And so it's still safer for them. Again, in all the statistics, we're not reading any increase in leg breaking. And they generally will figure out the way that's most comfortable for them. They can change positions multiple times, and it really is okay.
Yeah, well, when you think about, like, why is rear facing a better option, you have to think, usually if we're crashing forward, which is which is actually pushing the child into the seat rather than moving their head forward, correct?
Correct. And in fact, you can go look at YouTube videos. There are oodles of them out there that show rear-facing versus forward-facing. Statistically, chances are greater that we will hit in the front and be moved forward. So rear-facing is better for them.
Yes.
And it's just, we're just doing the statistics, how to keep our kids the safest in a crash, what's the most likely risk factor.
Yeah.
And rear-facing is the best for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I was driving on the highway today, and I saw this, actually was yesterday, watching these crazy people driving and swerving in and out of traffic and just going, oh my gosh, there's people on the road, they're really not thinking that there are children in these cars, and you've really got to take every chance you can to protect them, because you never know. It may not be you, you may be a careful driver, but you never know when somebody's going to hit you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's another question that came in here from Hossie in New Jersey. She said, are these new recommendations different than what came out even 2 years ago, that kids should remain rear-facing till age 2? Did recommendations change for older kids as well?
The changes for the older kids are basically that we need to keep them in a 5-point harness longer.
Yeah.
So having them in a car seat that will keep them in the 5-point harness till the 65 or 80-pound mark is being safer. Not moving them to the booster until at least 4. And then keeping them in a booster seat until they're 4'9". And that's generally going to be somewhere between age 8 and 12.
Yes.
Keeping them in that booster until they are the 4'9", so that they actually fit the seat correctly.
And then also, I read somewhere on there too that child should not be riding in the front seat till they're 13, correct?
Yes, and that has been a change. It had been maybe 12, but then they had talked about weight limits. I actually had just moved, because it was 100 pounds is the weight limit when the airbag deployment happens. And so I had allowed my daughter, who's 10, just turning 11, to move to the front seat part of the time. And with this last information last week, moved her back. Even though she's over 4'9",
yeah.
She doesn't need to be in a booster, but we moved her back to the back seat again.
Yeah, because those airbags can be really dangerous if they're not large enough to handle it.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Great information. I mean, this has been a topic for the past week that people have just been like pouring into the store, questions pouring in. Everybody's concerned. Everybody wants to know. So it's really great to have this. And then if you guys missed any of the information or concerned about it, first of all, I have Joe's going to be putting up the resource. Oh, it's up already.
Come on,
oh, you are so good, Joe. You're so good. Yeah, Joe's on top of his game today. It's already on our resource page. And then you can also always go back and watch the replay of what we're discussing right now if you missed any part of the conversation, or somebody who needs to watch it for themselves. You can send them there to watch it. Okay, so we're going to move on now to another topic here, a topic that Kay has done a lot of work on for many years, I know, and that is travel, vacation travel, travel safety with your children. I know that's a big expertise part for you, Kay.
Yes, it is. It has been one of our mainstays in our store for a long time, and one of the biggest topics that I help parents with is making sure they have some peace of mind when they go to the zoo or they go to Disneyland, and they want to know that their kids are safe, and how can they best do that?
Yes, absolutely. It's really scary in today's day and age. You watch the news and you look and you hear about these abductions and about childs being lost, and I know it's a huge fear of mine. This is one part of the show that I've been waiting to hear about as well, so very excited to talk a little bit more about it. Any good tips that you have? Like, what are the main things that we really need to know?
Well, first of all, all, statistically, the chances that your children would be abducted by someone that you don't know is actually very slim.
Yeah.
It's a much greater possibility that your child would get separated from you at Disneyland or the park or the zoo, and that somebody else needs to get them back to you. That is much more likely. It's happened to most of us at some point in our parenting lives.
Scary.
And so what I teach is having your children wear a wearable ID when you go out. And you can start this early and just make it a habit when you get ready to go out the door. Put on their shoes and then put on their bracelet or their dog tag or their shoe tags.
Yep.
Something that has your cell phone number, a couple of family contact phone numbers that your child actually wears no matter where they are. So if they're separated, another mom, which is what I always tell my kids, go find another mom with a stroller and kids and ask for help. Another mom can call you and get your child back to you quickly.
That's great advice, because at least you know you're sending them to someone that is a stranger that they can basically trust if they're pushing another stroller and they have other children.
Exactly. And,
Yeah.
we used to say someone in uniform, and we know that that's not always the safe option.
No,
but if you
no.
see a mom with a stroller and children, you know that that's going to be a safe place to go.
Yeah.
And we play the what-if game when we're out. Show me what a mom is. Point out a mom with a stroller. Who would you pick if we were here?
Yes.
And play that game with them so they know what they're looking for.
Yes, yes. We've played that game with our children, too, like going through different scenarios of, like, what if somebody came up to you and said, I've got this for you, or your mom told me to pick you up. If it was a lady, would you go with them? And just making sure that they understand that somebody bad could come in all shapes and sizes and sexes and everything else, and to really be careful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I see the other conversation coming up is about personalizing your items. In our store, everything that's an ID bracelet or a shoe tag that they would wear, the personalized information is inside of a pocket, so it's not visible from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
A stranger couldn't see it across the room and call out to them. Our dog tags are meant to clip onto a belt loop or a zipper pull, but the printing is small. Again, their first name is on it, but it's going to not be visible across the way.
Yes.
Somebody's going to have to walk up to them and actually have it in their hand in order to see it.
Yes.
And then those phone numbers are visible there. And so, yes, you don't want to have their first name on their shirt or, embroidered on their backpack someplace where somebody could call out to them when they're a little ways away.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there was a question that came in from one of our viewers, and she was asking about what's the best way. This is from, let's see, we want to give credit to the person who asked a good question. This is from Irene in Texas. She said, what's the best way to instill stranger caution in young children? I have a very friendly 5-year-old who loves to tell people our names and address. I don't want to scare him from talking to people, but I'm really uncomfortable with the amount of information that he shares. It's a really good question. I have one of those children who is very friendly as well.
That's a great question. One of the things I like to do is introduce a child safety video, and of course we have several in our store, that talk about what a stranger is and what a stranger isn't, and that it might be somebody you know or someone that you kind of know.
Yes.
And it talks about what that might look like. It does a lot of play acting, and again, we have 3 or 4 different versions that we love, but it lets them see examples of what it would look like, and it's a great place to talk with your children as you're watching the videos about what we do and what we don't do, what we say and what we don't say. And it's a challenge because you want them to not be fearful, but you want them to be wise. And what I tell my kids is, if Mommy and you are standing and we may be talking to another mom that Mom doesn't know, because they'll say, you talk to a stranger.
Yes.
And I'll say, you're right. When we're together and Mom is talking to a mom, that's okay. But we don't talk to somebody, when you're by yourself, you don't talk to somebody you don't know unless you're going to find a mommy for help.
Yes.
And you need to be with Mommy to talk to somebody that you don't know.
Yeah. And this should be an ongoing conversation, because I know that children, they tend to forget. You don't want to have this conversation. You don't want to have this conversation one time and say, okay, they watched the video, it's done. It's something I think you need to keep reminding them on, and in a way that, like you said, not instilling fear into them, but to reinforce the idea that, you need to be careful, you need to be safe, and this is what you do in a situation.
And also, when you're looking for safety videos, videos. Look at the age, what the video is rated for. I'm going to put up a link for one of ours, and that is for a grade school age, 5, 6, 7. We have a different video that's good for preschoolers.
Yes.
And then we have another one that is good for older middle age and middle school. And you also need to remember, everybody thinks their children are older and more mature than they are. And so I find parents will say, well, you know, my 4-year-old, but they're really mature. Still get a video that's geared towards their age,
yes,
because it has to do with what they're understanding. And having videos actually being a step below them is never a bad thing. It's that repetitive.
Yes,
and
yes.
so, of course, my daughter has seen every video we have multiple times.
Yes.
And we watch them regularly, and we talk about it often.
No, that's fantastic advice, definitely. Something that I'll be ordering from your website myself. for my own
we have
kids.
a great selection.
Yeah, especially going into the to the summer months when we all do a lot of traveling, vacation times. We're in these large parks, crowded areas, you know, to really, or mall, even a mall. I mean, anywhere you go. And I know I've had that feeling of like, you know, not seeing my child for 2 minutes, which can feel like 2 hours, and that panic that like, where'd they go? You know, staying close by. So it's great. It's really great.
Let me mention one other thing that's coming up in the chat, and that is about using a backpack or a child leash, a child harness of some kind. And I know that there are parents out there who don't like them, and that's totally fine. And there are other parents who think they're the best thing ever. And there are parents who have children with special needs that it means the difference between them going or not going.
Yes.
And so one of the things I want you to imagine as a mom, go to the zoo for a 4-hour day and have somebody taller than you hold your hand up over your head and pull on it all afternoon for 4 hours. It's exhausting.
Yes.
And so if we have to hold their hand and hold it up by their head while we are going and doing, they don't get to really enjoy the environment as well as if they can actually walk and look and see. And so by giving them a backpack, like we have one that has a retractable tether,
That's such a good
I can
point.
grab it if I need to, but
Yep.
they're close enough that I can give them a little bit of freedom.
Yep.
They get to see and explore the world in a better way. They're not as exhausted from having their hand pulled and held up high.
Yep.
And they can get out of their stroller and actually be able to explore and go up to the fence at the zoo and really see and be a part. Some kids are naturally very good at staying close to you. Some children are not.
Right.
And one of my children has ADHD and some sensory issues,
Yes.
and she didn't. And
Yes.
so we used something like this in order to keep her safe but let her have freedom to explore.
That's such a good point, because people get so turned off by the idea of it being like a leash. A leash is, you know, around their neck, okay?
Exactly, exactly.
This is a harness that's going to keep them safe, and like you said, it's not just to let them not get away from you, but to keep their hands free for exploration, and I just love that. Love that,
I
Kay.
do too.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I can see where that can be really, really useful. And especially if you have other children or you're pushing a stroller with another baby, you can't, you know, run after a toddler and leave your baby. So what are you going to do?
Well, and we should have learned that with the twins, with
Yeah.
two of them. And even if you have two hands, you let go, and they're both in opposite directions.
Yes.
And so we need to use something, either keep them in the stroller so they can't explore, or use some sort of harness to be able to keep them close.
Fantastic, fantastic. You know, one of the other questions before we move on to the next one, I know it's getting late, but I think this is a really important question with people traveling a lot, whether it's the holidays, we've got different holidays coming up, Easter, Passover, people traveling for vacations. Somebody asked a question about how long is it safe to keep your child sitting in a car seat without getting up to stretch their legs to walk around?
You know, that is a great question. My rule of thumb is about 2 hours. They're generally going to nap. You know, that's a length of an average nap for some babies, unless you have a non-sleeper. And so generally about every 2 hours, it's really good for everybody in the car to stop and get out, have a potty break, change a diaper. Those of you who are cloth diapering, you know, we're told that you should change about every 2 hours, so that falls into that. Unless they're asleep, then I might push it just a little bit longer. But
Yes.
that's kind of my rule of thumb.
Yes, awesome, awesome. Okay, great. Let's move on to another topic. It's getting late here, and I want to keep going. I think that one of the topics that we definitely want to cover is the whole concept of childproofing and safety-proofing the home. And what are the main tips? I know that you shared with me a very sad story recently about a 3-year-old, right?
Yes, this was actually a Twitter mom that I've interacted a couple of times with her, not too much, I think, but I saw the information on Twitter, and she had a 3-year-old son and went into a room where the kids were watching TV, and the TV and the dresser that it was on fell on top of him, and he died. And just absolutely heart-wrenching. Just broke my heart for this mom who, really thought it was a safe place. It was a dresser that she herself had climbed on to take care of things and thought it was secure. And there really are hundreds of children, thousands every year, that are killed or hurt by falling furniture.
Yeah.
And so it's very important that the rooms that your children are, especially rooms that they might ever be unsupervised, like their bedroom, like a living room or family room or play area, that the furniture is attached to the wall and that TVs are attached to the piece of furniture that they're on top of.
Yes.
Furniture brackets and TV straps, we have lots of options in our store, are under $20 to secure something like that. And just, protect your kids. It's a scary thought. There was an 8-year-old about 5 years ago killed by a 27-inch TV that fell on him.
8 years old.
So
oh my God.
It doesn't take much to fix it.
No. Oh my God. Yeah. And and you've heard these stories too about children that are killed by their own parents backing out of the garage.
Yes, and I actually could have been one of those statistics. When I was 18 months old, my father and uncle started to leave in a car, and I was outside and ran behind them and was actually hit by the car and knocked me over and ran over both of my knees.
Oh my God.
And I'm grateful that that's all it was. I had no permanent damage, but I can't even imagine. My poor mother was a horrific, scary day, and she was 8 months pregnant, and it was just, I hear the stories, of course, all of my life. And so cars backing up, we have to be aware. We've got to be looking at our mirrors. We've got to be walking around behind our car before we leave to see what's there. Know where your children are if they're outside. Do a count. Make sure everybody's buckled up before you ever back up.
Yeah, we have now in our Tahoe a mirror that comes on when we go into rear mode, but I think that mirrors in the driveway, mirrors on the side of the garage is a really good idea. And then just being aware. I think this all comes down to awareness. It takes one time. It's you don't get that second chance.
No, you don't. Many of you know the Stephen Curtis Chapman story, and they also lost a child like that, and it's one of those just sad accidents that nobody ever plans for, of course, and we just have to be super diligent when we're outside because it can happen in the blink of an eye. Yeah,
absolutely. And then there's also the whole idea of bathtub and changing tables, never leaving your child alone. I know we say that it seems like, oh yeah, of course everybody knows that, but so how many kids die in bathtubs each year as well?
Yeah, it is. It's very sad. And, all of the bathtub seats or bathtub toys, all of them, have a note, don't leave your child unsupervised. But it's so easy to just step out of the room to answer a phone or the door. And we have to learn to just ignore those things. Take care of the kids while they're in the bathtub. Stay with them.
Yes.
And because it, too, they say kids can drown in, a couple of inches of water. Make sure that you are close enough that your hand is on them and can reach them at all times.
Yeah, as well as toilets. There are children who drown in toilets going head first into a toilet.
Absolutely, because they're head heavy, and they're fascinated by the water. So a toilet lid lock, something like that, or even a bathroom door latch so that they can't get in. It's a little tougher to do that when you have multiple children and you have kids going to the bathroom on their own and you have a toddler. But knowing that the doors are shut, we've had that here with the twin boys at almost 2. We have a note on the door, shut the door, and to keep them keep them out.
Absolutely. People think of, they don't really think about these toilet lids or toilet locks or even safety proofing the house. I know when Joe and I had our first daughter, we had a professional man come in who did the service and just kind of checked out our house and showed us areas that we would have never thought of, like securing different furniture to the wall, having an evaluation, and then he actually did the installation for us, and it was great. You know, we didn't pick everything that he said, but we did go with, you know, the things that seemed the most important, the gates, even like the plexi against the upper rails so that they couldn't put their heads through. Just things that, you know, you really got to be careful. And you think of these newborns, you're coming home with newborn babies, you're not really thinking about your house, but you've got to realize that that year goes really fast, and by the time that 1 year is up, you've got a walking toddler.
Absolutely. I tell parents to plan and put their childproofing products on their baby registry before their baby is even born.
Yes.
Start picking up one item every month as you work through that first year so that by the time your child is starting to crawl, you've got the things that are down low secured, you've got furniture secured to the wall, you've got outlet covers and the plugs and the TV. Everything is secured before they get there.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, it's getting to that part of the night. We have to do 2-hour shows. It goes too fast. Can you believe it?
It does go fast. I'm amazed.
It goes very fast. So I just want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been so informative. And if you want more information from Kay, because as you can tell, she really knows her stuff, and there's just stuff that we all need to learn. I want you to go to her website, and My Precious Kid, and you can get. She's got how many articles did you say you had that you've collected?
Oh gosh, there's a couple of dozen on the website, and then there's a blog button on the left-hand side with all the other articles that we've done. So lots and lots of articles that are free for them to look. I have articles on potty training is another thing I do, and on SIDS and sleep safety. So there's lots there for them to choose from. It's
fantastic. We appreciate you so much. We will have you back on the show. You're getting a lot of love in the chat room here. They all love you, Kay.
Much deserved.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's been just delightful.
So goodbye, Kay. It was really nice to have you tonight.
Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Okay, awesome. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. I want to thank you all for watching, to having another wonderful night on My Baby Experts. It's been my pleasure and my honor to be here with you all. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next week. Have a fabulous week. Go kiss your babies and give them lots of love. I love every single one of you. Mwah!